So if I was to ask you about 10 years ago, what do you think the effect of all the porn, Instagram models, and just using sex to sell in general? What did you think the long-term effects were going to be? In my opinion, I thought there would be a couple incels. Of course, there's gonna be a lot of tricks and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's just gonna kind of have you're gonna have the weirdos that can't talk to girls, and then you're gonna have the guys that just kind of pay for everything, right? That's the farthest I thought it would go. But now, fast forward 2026, and not only are these people usually outcast to society, we're starting to see a trend of these people becoming menaces to society. And I know a lot of people gonna be like, "Yeah, there's a lot of weirdos, around there, but you can't really blame certain things. That's just them, right?" And no, I don't 100% believe that. Yeah, there are a couple weirdos, a couple standouts and things of that nature. I believe that all this stuff that we're seeing online, including the porn, Instagram models, just anything, right? I believe all this stuff is leading to people like EDP or Gooning. This is that you don't just wake up one day, or you're not just born like that for the most part. These people, they're themselves stated they were gooners. Eventually, they just become somebody they can't even recognize themselves no more. So now they start to play into that monster role. Nobody wakes up one morning and they're just EDP. They want to go get a cupcake with a little kid, right? Nobody's just pulling up one day trying to jerk it off through the drive-through. And this new generation, it's fucking me up because when I grew up, of course, yeah, like in high school, middle school, whatever, people were being a meat. But nowadays, it's like everybody wants to be a gooner. And when I was in school, in high school, it was lame to be a gooner. Like when if you were gooning, just jerking off all day, and not fucking no bitches, we looked at you as a lame. Like, bro, go get some hoes on your dick. But nowadays, it's like there's a proud gooner communities, and it damn near feels like these people are outnumbering the normal people. And you can see it if you go on Instagram, go on your explore page and look through comments, look through anywhere, and you're gonna see these gooner porn brain incels under everybody's comments. If you continue to keep watching all this porn and kind of mess up your mind, you're gonna start seeing women as just the object. And then you're gonna get to the point where you're scared to talk to a female. A female might find you attractive and look at you and smile and wave, and you're looking at the ground. You're trying to walk the other direction, and then you go home and beat off to her Instagram. Like, and then you get to the point where you're pulling up to the drive-through, giving females drive-by jerks. And like I said, most people don't start off with having extreme porn brain or just want to do crazy ass shit. It starts off with everybody starts off the same. It starts off with boredom. Maybe you're lonely, maybe you're stressed, maybe it's none of that. Maybe you just want to get a nut off. Not like back in the day when our parents had to go get like a Playboy magazine or something like that, or get a VHS tape or do something on the porn channel, right? Nowadays, you have 24/7 virtual access to free porn. So now it gets to a point where it's not even on some you want to feel stimulation, it's automatic. Yeah, I'm gonna get off work, eat my food, and I'm gonna go eat my meat. You're looking for something because eventually it gets to the point where it's just boring for you. Everything that you start watching the normal shit become boring. You start watching some crazy shit, the crazy shit gets boring, and then you start wilding out in person. Literally, Diddy, not to bring up Diddy, but Diddy literally was tired of porn to the point where he was bringing in men to fuck his female, fuck his bitch in front of him, and that was his new version of porn. And you sit back and think about that, and you think that shit sounds crazy. This is what all roads lead to if you keep following this path of wanting to be a gooner. This is how we get to these situations where people start doing shit they don't even want to because they're bored. And we've heard this for generations when it came to rich and famous people, right? You start hearing people how they start trying stuff with transgenders, a whole bunch of shit. And if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. Like that's you, right? But at the end of the day, a lot of these people are doing this type of shit. One, because they either can't pull a real female, or two, they just gradually got bored of all the shit they're watching, all this shit they're doing. Because somebody like Diddy was such a sexual deviant. He's been doing this shit for years on years and years on years on end. And imagine you're addicted to porn and you could pull any bitch you want, right? You're eventually going to get to the stage where you're just doing wild shit. I'm not saying everybody who watches porn is going to become a fucking predator, right? I'm saying constantly feeding an impulse while never practicing any type of restraint, that's going to weaken any type of boundaries. If you smoke weed anytime you want to throughout the day, morning, night, and you don't give a fuck, as soon as you feel the urge and you do it, you're gonna become a fucking bum. If you eat food whenever you feel like it, when you're not hungry, you're eating food all day, you're gonna become fat. If you drink alcohol all throughout the day, no matter if you feel like it or you don't, you're gonna become an alcoholic. And that's the same thing with gooning. And I'm gonna talk about the gooner side guy real quick. He had a wife and kids, right? So he could have went home and got pussy, right? But he was just tired of normal shit. He wanted to pull up through the drive-through and jerk it real quick, drive by, like, gotcha. You feel me? Look what ended up happening, right? He ended up taking his own life because of the backlash he got online, all the bullying he was receiving, and of course, I do think he deserves some of the shit he was getting, right? You do deserve some of that backlash, but at the end of the day, like I said, nobody deserves to really have to feel like that's their only way out. But yeah, he ends up deleting himself, and this is just another telltale sign of where gooning can lead. And now to fucking EDP. The reason I'm actually making this video because I was sitting there watching the EDP documentary, right? And I couldn't even get through it. I couldn't even finish it because one, I didn't even want to give somebody of this level of monstrosity any more views, attention, whatever. Because to me, somebody who's proudly saying something like that, it's just disgusting to me. But what I noticed in the beginning of the video, before he got to being a pedo, what's the first thing he mentioned he was addicted to? He's beating off every single day, back to back to back. He wanted to name his YouTube channel a porn name, and then by the time he was fucking with his first girlfriend or girl, whatever, she did him wrong, right? But when I tell you this, bro, girls can sense the gooner energy on you. And you might think I'm capping about that, but I promise it's true, bro. Because any high level, any man that's really masculine, you can low key tell that they're not too much gooner shit. Not other than Terry Crews, that's a whole different story. But for the most part, you can kind of tell like if a guy's masculine, has his shit together for the most part, high testosterone, high value man, you know they're not spending 5, 6 hours a day beating off. You look at a guy like EDP, and you could tell that him being addicted to porn at such a young age, he never really had a chance because not only was he fat and unattractive, he was a fucking gooner. So if you're sitting in your room every single night, leveling down your social skills, what is going to be the outcome of this? And usually these people just become incels. They don't really talk to anybody. They, for the most part, they don't do anything to nobody. But with somebody like EDP, when all these lame ass people on the internet was gassing him and just feeding into his ego and stuff like that, it kind of makes these weirdos feel like they could do whatever they want. And so for somebody like EDP who start off with his gooner addiction as a kid, they never leave this childish mentality, right? And this is what ends up leading them to liking kids because in their head, they've never grown up. So ever since they started this fucked up mentality incel thing, they're still the same person they were. So whatever age, I forgot what he said he started, blah, blah, blah. But in his head, he hasn't grown up mentally at all. So for him to go fuck with a little 13-year-old, 14-year-old girl, that's normal for him. When you guys end up having kids or whatever, or the next generation of parents, this is something that we have to catch early because, of course, like I said, porn doesn't just turn you into a pedophile, right? But when you have certain flaws in somebody's character or personality growing up, if you don't catch that when you're young, all these tools around them is going to turn them into a different person. If you have a son with anger issues and you don't really do anything about it, you can't be surprised when he goes and kills like 3, 4 people, right? That just ends up being something you should have caught. You should have took him to whatever behavioral therapy, some shit like that. But then now you have King Von on your hands and there's nothing you could do. And the worst part about all this is it rewards shock. If you do some crazy shit, say some crazy shit, you're gonna get more views. If you drop some sexual content or some outrageous confessions, you're gonna get more views. People start to encourage one another through memes and communities and all these types of things. Because I honestly believe the internet itself will encourage you to become the worst version of yourself. And then when you do fall down that rabbit hole, everybody who kind of encouraged you, pushed you down that route, they're gonna laugh at you when you finally destroy your life. And this does have a lasting effect in society in general. There's a whole generation that aren't gonna be able to have any attraction to some real partners. They're all gonna live through their phone, live through this virtual screen. Confidence in approaching a woman, it's already kind of down the drain with social media in general. Even people who are not gooning, just because they can go send a DM instead of go walk up to a girl. I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty of this too. There's been times where I know a girl's looking at me, but I know I follow her on Instagram, so I'm just gonna wait till I get home. I'm gonna DM her, right? Because like, what's the point? What's the point of me talking to you now? We're gonna talk for whatever, have some small talk, and just for me to try to hit. But in reality, back then I didn't realize what social skills I was building by doing certain shit. Nowadays, if the time is right, I'm walking up to a female, no matter if I'm comfortable or not, just because this is another way to level up your XP. And all this gooning is not just fucking up your skills with women, things of that nature. It starts to fuck up your focus, motivation, ambition. You stay up late at night and now you're fucking up your sleep, the ability to sit down and actually think and actually deal with your thoughts and stress instead of fucking going to beat your meat. And then just respect for other people around you, respect for women and other people's sexual boundaries. These are all things that I feel like the Gooner community has had an impact on. The real danger isn't specifically what you're watching for the most part, it's what you're slowly becoming while you're watching it. So if I was to ask you again, 10 years ago, what would be the outcome of all the sex, Instagram models, all of this? What was going to be the total outcome? Would you be able to sit here and tell me pedophilia? Would you be able to tell me people are going to be drive-by jerking it? Would you be able to tell me that there's going to be a fucking generation full of incels that can't talk to women, that they rather go on OnlyFans to pay to pretend to have a relationship and jerk off to that shit and fuck around with femboys? Would you be able to tell me that this is where the generation was going to be? And most of us wouldn't even expect this. Of course, if you're one of the Simpsons writers, maybe, but for the most part, you wouldn't be able to tell me this was gonna happen. And like I said, not everybody watching porn is destined to become EDP or Guna side, but if an impulse controls your time, changes what you're attracted to, and keeps pushing the boundaries, this is not a harmless addiction, fam. This is worse than drugs. This is worse than being a fucking alcoholic. But yeah, do y'all think that Gooner culture is genuinely making people worse, or is the internet just giving an old problem that's been around for years on end just a new name? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Overly Tag, another food for thought, and we are out.